to pay taxes when you're dead. So where last we left off, with our intrepid heroes returning from a job well done. You guys make quick business back to Emnet. And is there anything that you guys want to touch up on that we did not already touch up on as you return?
For which group?
For you guys, group 2.
Oh.
You guys are getting back first.
Probably nothing that hasn't already been covered.
Yeah. I thought so. So, and so as you guys make your way through the forests and the fields and the idyllic hills. You guys finally make your way back to Emnet. As you make your way through, you do. Luckily, the direction that you guys are going is pretty deep through Blood of Legala territory, and thus you're not accosted by. Pardon me. You're not accosted by any enemy soldiers or anything like that. Yeah, the crypts are nowhere to be found. And luckily the soldiers and such have been patrolling enough where you do not find, or you're not accosted by any more bandits or anything on the way here. And so finally you return to Dalhurst. As you do get close, there are a number of places that you do see a couple of skirmishes have broken out. You see a number of grave sites, like makeshift graves that have been created for soldiers that had died in some of these skirmishes. But when you return to Dalhurst, you are pleased to note that the city is still standing and seems to be doing even better for itself than it was before. Other soldiers and civilians have flocked to the area to the safety that is required of it in your absence. And though a number of battles have been fought in the zone between here and Arcanon, your territories have largely not shifted much. You've won a few battles, lost a few battles, but largely there have been no losses of any substantial losses or victories here on the front lines.
Oh, time to submit a mission report.
Yeah, and so at this current moment, let's see. At the current moment, Etney is away on business, but is expected to return in a day or two. But General Shieldheart is here at the moment. And he would oh yeah, you are hot micing stuff.
Oh, sorry.
And so he is standing by for you to inform him of what happened. And Etney will return in probably a day or two for you to let her know as well. Shieldheart has also been coordinating a lot of efforts and has seen a couple of battles as well. But he is largely unscathed. But you can even tell just by the way that he's carrying himself that his age is starting to get to him. as you can tell that he's starting to slow down a bit just from all the number of battles that he's been in, and he seems to be very tired. But he's not letting it affect his work ethic.
So I assume we all report back.
Yeah, I mean, assumedly.
Unless I just want to say, hey, David, you want to go see your girlfriend?
If we can report, and then we can see her.
You know, we all don't need to give the report.
No, it's fine.
And I imagine when you guys get back, those who would have heard of you guys coming would have greeted you. And well, there's a lot of people here at the moment, as many of the NPCs are out doing various things. Obviously, Davian, your parents are still here, though Richter actually has been out fighting. Richter himself is actually not here. He's probably out with Edna at the moment, as is John. But Sylvia and your mother are both here. And your mother has been doing a lot of work with the infirmary, taking care of the sick, the wounded, and stuff like that. And though she hasn't necessarily meant to, many people have kind of ended up flocking to her after they realized after word spread of her demeanor, of the poise that she carried herself with, especially as she was helping these people. It did not take long for people to associate her with the priesthood, and so a good deal of the civilians have actually come to rely on her for more than just her healing and apothecary skills.
Spiritual advice.
A lot of people have started to reach out to both her and to Donna Faithsworn, whom she's been working with pretty closely as far as this is concerned, because the two of them are two of the more gifted healers back here in Dalhurst. Tristan, of course, is helping a lot with the foundation and the defenses, and is kind of accidentally taken control of the local guard and militia, and has kind of organized them into a pretty substantial and also fair police force that has really kept any opportunists in crime down, as so many people have come to this location right now that many people could take advantage of that, and he's been trying to focus inward to make sure that the civilians here can be safe and at peace. And thus he's been working a good deal with them as well. Let's see. Zhuling and Wu have also been doing a good deal of work in the area. Wu has been working with the intelligence groups and trying to bring this war to an end as quickly as possible, while Zhuling has offered his sword to the front lines to assist in defending the blood of Legala in the most direct fashion.
As anticipated by both.
Yeah, right. Let's see. Do you guys have any other questions about what other people have been doing in the area?
No, I don't think so.
Cool. Yeah, just kind of as a general note about all that.
Piper's okay?
Yeah, Piper's been busy. She has. First off, an important note is that nobody knows her lineage yet. Still, that has not gotten out or anything, which is good. But she has been working. And you guys have seen the hallmarks of her work on a good deal of weapons that have come in and out. It seems that she's Davian, as you are reunited with her, the time that she spends with you there might be the most downtime that she's had since you guys have left. As she has been very hard at work, doing all sorts of things. Sophia, as well, has been hard at work hunting and making sure that that food and such is a commodity that is not wanted for. In addition to helping many of the trappers get raw materials that can be used for field repairs, clothing, and other things. Putting her leatherworking skills to use as well. But yeah, she's been hard at work, but she could probably spare some time, if you know what I mean. But she's obviously overjoyed to see you because she's been very hard at work.
Take a break, sis.
She does deserve a break.
She seems to have a workaholic streak to her. And she seems to be the kind of person that once she gets started on a project is not one to stop. So she's getting pretty hard at work, but she also seems to be thriving on it. She seems to really be enjoying having her hands busy. It also prevents her from being worried about you.
Yeah.
So that's another bonus. And her mother and her sister and her other sister and her brother and her other sister.
Big family.
Yeah. So as this is all going on, anybody who would wish to be present for the debriefing would be. And so I assume Alstra that you informed him about everything. Yes?
Yeah. Yeah. I also assume Connor is here.
Yeah, assumedly. I assume he's probably at work, but
He is.
yeah. That's okay. We can film in on anything important that happens. This is pretty routine. He clarifies a couple of things, but at the end of it he nods and says, "So it seems that was a near thing. You acted quickly and bravely in the defense of Brimrad. And are you there, Hiei?"
Yeah.
And he looks to you specifically and nods, and he says, "I cannot thank you enough for protecting those people. I know a great many of the men and women who serve there I know on a personal level. If we would have lost that city to those mercenaries, that would have been a grave defeat indeed."
I was glad to take it upon myself. Though I do have faith in my countrymen, sometimes even the noblest warriors can be led astray.
So it
I'm
seems.
just glad I was there in the right place in the right time.
That makes two of us. My friend. It's good to hear that we have the aid of Julius Blackwile. As far as monetary concerns are his assistance will assuage that to a great deal. With every victory that we gather, we come one step closer to bringing this war to a conclusive end. Etni's scouts have also reported that Emnet has been retaken as well. It's though the majority of the details of the mission lies with the team as they return. I am of the understanding that Jacob, Jared, and the rest have successfully taken the city, and the factory is still intact. I must say, that's a great deal more than I expected. I was worried that the only recourse may have been to destroy the factories, but by gathering them, we've secured a great number of pieces to the puzzle that comes to defeating Millicent and her supporters.
That is certainly good news.
As expected of them. They always tend to exceed expectations.
As for Etni herself, she's leading a battle at the front lines. She's expected to return tomorrow with the report of the battle itself. But from what I understand, the tides turn favorably.
Also good to hear.
If we continue to secure victories in key locations such as this, I believe we will. I believe we'll have a. I believe that we will be able to bring this war to a swift conclusion. Millicent, Leon, and Alexis and their followers are going to quickly find themselves cornered. And if Orion, Cecil, and the others that came with, and the others that left, are able to secure even one of the Archbishop's support, I believe that will be enough. That will be enough for us to finally begin planning a final assault. The sooner we can take Arcanon from the hands of the loyalists, the better.
Indeed.
On top of that, I received a missive from my son. He says, looking over at Warren with a smile. It seems Richard has made his way back to the camp and has informed the new standard bearer of our activities. I trust that we'll keep in contact with them throughout the course of things. I believe we'll have their support in the final battle.
Good news.
That'll certainly be helpful.
And Thaddeus nods and he says, "Yes, one could be concerned that it's almost too much good news." We've certainly lost men and on all fronts, yours included. But I did not expect Millicent and her people to roll over so easily. I trust that the victory in Emnet was not won simply. Something's not adding up. Even though our numbers are superior, they have a great deal of they have a great deal more mages and resources and supplies than I was expecting a more aggressive approach from them, I suppose.
They might be planning something.
Providing their strength.
Fortifying defenses for Arcanon.
It's true. Shieldheart says, kind of stroking his chin. That said, they were expecting a substantial bolster of forces with these wagey mercenaries. Perhaps they were waiting to make a major move until they were able to consolidate them. I would not be surprised if they planned on attacking us from two directions, using the wagey mercenaries in their own. Without that strength, they may be finding themselves in a desperate spot.
Though I still wouldn't underestimate them.
Of course not.
Not even at this point.
Magister Leon is a brilliant tactician.
What'd you say, Rick?
Oh.
And former Magister Brock is also here, and she's just kind of watching all of this, and something doesn't add up. I have to agree with Thaddeus, she says. They're planning something. We need to try and find out what that is before it's too late. I may have only known them for a short time, but Leon is not the kind of person to consolidate defenses. He's always been a rather aggressive individual. I'm afraid to hear what he's. And she actually looks up to Warren and says, "Captain Warren, or Captain Shieldheart, can I count on your help I understand that you're a bit of a reconnaissance expert, and I could use somebody with your skills to try and triangulate what they might be up to. Sir Thaddeus is right. This has been far too easy. And Warren nods and says, "You can count on me. I suppose I've been a bit concerned about that as well. Though consolidating their forces in Arcanon makes sense to a degree. We haven't seen nearly enough aggression from them across the board. It's almost seemed to be a token force." If you ask me, my guess is that they've set up some kind of trap in Arcanon. Knowing those sycophants, they've probably rigged half the city to blow. We should be careful, and if we can, we should try and see if Beatrice's people can find any explosives in the tunnels under the city. The last thing that I would want them to do is try and use the citizens as a distraction, or worse, bait. And Shieldheart nods and says, "Well, I would hope that they would not stoop to such reprehensible means. A quartered animal is a dangerous one. We cannot let such possibilities fade. We'll send some of our scouts out and see if we'll see if we can try and discover more about what they're up to."
Well, best of luck then. If you need any assistance, we're here.
And he nods and says, "Yes, but you've all returned from a rather stressful situation. I believe you should all take some time to recover. We'll have need of your strength, and we'll have need of it soon."
All right then. Just let me know if you need anything.
And he nods, and you're dismissed. With that, you guys are dismissed, and we'll have an opportunity to catch your energy and your breath over the course of the next couple of days.
And I don't even know what to do with the break.
Right? What does that mean?
Well, get something to eat. I don't know. No,
Gives you a look.
I mean, you could always just continue your training.
I assume that was going to happen.
Yes, but I don't know.
Go spend some time with Piper, she says, kind of shooing him.
All right. Well, I do need to tell everyone in the brigade what happened. So I just hope the other groups are doing well.
I'm sure they're fine.
And yeah. So throughout the over the next couple of days, Etney does return back. She's taken a couple of injuries, nothing substantial, and nothing that a little bit of rest won't be able to take care of. But the battling on the front line has been fierce, as it does almost seem as if they are trying to prevent if they're it does seem as if they're trying to discourage a frontal assault of the city of Arcanon itself, with the defense that they've been putting up on the front lines in these skirmishes that are broken out. And she reports as much as you guys get back. But she she's only received a handful of injuries and such. Both John and your father return, Rick. Neither of them have been substantially injured, though your father has been learning how to fight with his other hand, as his main sword hand is kind of not the best as far as things are concerned.
I'm just glad they're okay.
But yeah, they are okay. Nothing besides just a couple of nick scratches and superficial wounds. And as far as things are concerned, let's see, you guys get back on the 28th. And they get, Group 2 or Group 1 gets back a week afterwards. So is there anything that you guys are doing in particular in that week besides just supporting people and taking care of the duties and such that you guys have kind of already led up to?
I think I'll be doing double of that, trying to take my mind off of what happened.
Gotta work hard.
Please.
Wesley, make sure you don't work that hard because you need your energy. And so if you're beating yourself up too hard, he's definitely gonna make sure that you sit the fuck down sometimes, because you also need to conserve your energy. And he's gonna make sure that you do that. He's not stopping you from doing anything, but he's gonna stop you from overworking yourself.
I've gotta run. Gotta help. Gotta do this.
Take a break.
And let's see. Oh, like do you mean like yeah, I imagine that's actually been a thing. Like they've been running drills together, like with the Legalan regulars that sided with you guys, and the sons and daughters that are now all in the same units. There was definitely some issues between the two of them initially, but the flames of war have kind of burnt those away by now. In addition to the trust exercises, if you will, that many of them had been run from a lot of the organizations that have already had kind of an intermixed group, as it goes, including the various groups of the sons and daughters, the mercenaries before they went off on their various missions also definitely helped with that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are a lot of different factions that have kind of come together here, between the mages, the Tagwa and Lagus, more and more of which have come to this as the combination of Lynn's people and Reno's people have found a number of individuals who have made their way out. And on that note, actually, there is one other thing of interest, Rinzu. As you come back, I've totally forgot that I wanted to do this. As you come back, you actually, one of the first things you hear about, as you start like talking to people, is another impromptu performance that is being held. And as you would hear about that, I assume you would probably go and investigate it.
Yes.
All right, 1 second.
What the fuck is this?
Hang on, I gotta grab something real quick. Oh, I forgot to get this. Fuck. Up.
Another performance with.
Here we go.
I don't want to have a rival.
And as you go to investigate, you do find you see a small performance being put on. There's a couple of the Tagwa and Lagus that you had met and such along the way are watching, and much the same crowd that you had remembered performing or in your performance. But as you look up on the stage, you twirling and dancing with a fierce but elegant poise, you see a familiar individual. A Lagus, raven hair, and two feline ears.
That bitch.
Popping up from underneath her well-kempt hair, as you see a Black Panther Lagus, one that is rather familiar of yours.
Damn it.
And as all of this happens, Barathia, your old rival from House Blackwild,
Picture.
she is. Oh, do you actually have a picture? That's nice.
I made her she doesn't have the ears and shit, but I made her on a thing.
Oh, cool. Okay. And so as she finishes the dance, she gets a round of applause and an ovation from the crowd. And assuming Westland is here, he kind of looks in shock to see her here. Is that Barathia?
It sure is.
Goddess, how did she get here?
That's what I'd like to know.
And so
Gonna make my way over.
and so you kind of fight your way through the crowd a little bit. And just a second, I totally forgot to get something ready for this.
Oh my god. Brent, I never heard that.
I did say that.
He said
Actually,
that. He said that to me, and I was just like, "Whatever, Brent. Okay."
Khajiit stole nothing. Oh, here it is. And as you guys make your way through the crowd, it's not too hard to get through. The crowd is large, but it's not like it's also not quite as big as the biggest one that you've put out. Just as a thing that you would definitely notice, because I feel like you're a little bit petty when it comes to Barathia.
Yes, I'm very
Um,
petty when it becomes Barathia.
And she, as you approach her, the adrenaline rush of the success of her show, she hops off the stage, standing proud and smiling and saying hello to all of the others, and then that's when you make your way through, and she sees you, and her face, her smile falters for a moment, but then kind of shifts into a bit of a grin. Master Westland, Rinzu, it's a pleasure to see you again. I was wondering when you would return from the mission, or whatever it was that the two of you were on. And she bows deeply and she says, "Your father sends his regards, Westland." She laughs. Obviously, Joe, obviously he did not send his regards, but she's being facetious.
What are you doing here?
She kind of shrugs a bit and she looks around and says, "What does it look like I'm doing here, Rinzu? I'm raising the spirits of the blood of Legala. Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing right now?"
Just
And she crosses her arms. What, you didn't think that you were the only one that was allowed to make a statement, were you?
how did you get here?
I walked. Her eyelids kind of dull a little bit and her eyebrows just kind of raise, like, what did you expect? You're not the only one that can escape a place that they don't wish to be anymore, Rinzu. It's bad enough that you ran away after nearly killing Westland, making our lives infinitely more difficult. But now you have the gall and pride to think that you're the only one that's allowed to leave the estate. Shame on you, Rinz. Really, I thought you'd be more happy to see me. I would have said hello when you would come back the first time, but I was already taking care of some other business that I was already sent on, and by the time I returned, you had already escaped. Again, seems to be a bit of a habit of yours, isn't it? And she runs a hand through her hair.
She's just going to cross her arms. Just...
And Weston smiles and just kind of shakes her hair, or his head rather, and well, it's good to see you nonetheless. How did you manage to get out? And she kind of taps a finger on her cheek coyly and says, "Well, Master Westland, that would be telling, and I'm not exactly sure that I should tell, given the sensitive nature of the situation." everyone else is safe. If you're wondering, Ninon is still back at the manor. She did not want to. She didn't want to leave. She didn't want to leave the zeppelin that is Jenna Hightower or Jenna Blackwild, I suppose. As for Celestia and Sarah, the other Sarah, that is, the twins both parted ways after we got our way out. Seems they didn't want anything to do with any of this. I can't blame them. But I just couldn't pass down the opportunity to cross paths with my dear friend Rinzu. And she actually reaches down and she pinches your cheek.
Oh my god.
Because she's also distinctly taller than you.
She's older than me, too.
But, Wes, it's good to see that you're back up on your feet. And, well, not locked in a room. The scars look rather fetching, if I do say so myself. And Wesleyan kind of blushes and there's no need for that, but thank you. And she smirks and distinctly looks down at you, Rinzu. Here the two of you have been making quite a deal of waves with your little relationship of yours. Kudos to you. I was wondering when you'd stop hiding in broom closets. And Wesleyan looks at you and is like, and kind of blushes a bit and is like, how did you? And she just flicks her ear a little bit. You didn't think these were just for show, did you?
Just very...
Well, this has been absolutely thrilling, but I do have some admirers that I need to go and speak to. After all, someone has been out saving the world, and others needed to pick up their slack. It was good to see you again, Rinzu. And she smiles and says, "Oh, you're still a poor liar. There's no need for you to waste your breath now. I'll see the two of you around." And she bows once more and she turns to go and speak to some of the others, and she turns one last time as she goes to depart, and her eyes flicker to you once more, Rinzu, and it flashes from contempt for the hint of a moment, but then also relief, and then she turns back away as she doesn't miss a beat talking to any of the to the individuals and others, and many of which also say hello to you as you have come back and all that. But they go with her because they have questions for her because she just got here.
There are a lot of questions that I want answers to right now. I'm just like...
And yeah, so she goes about her business, and Wesleyan looks at you and is like, I did not expect to see her here again.
No, I wasn't either. Actually, the last person that I would see here.
Well, perhaps not the last. I can think of a few people I would have expected to see her here after her. My father being one example. That wasn't a very funny joke. I'm sorry. Still, it's good to see that she's safe. I wonder how she got out.
Something that I'd like to know. And I know how I'm going to do it.
How?
Oh, I'm going to invite her to dinner. Why not? Why not go spend some time with her? Ugh.
And yeah, so I assume you're gonna track her down later and try and convince her to.
To what is it, the dumpy lighthouse or whatever?
Oh shit, the Dumpy Lighthouse.
Because
That's
it's
where all
the
the.
only place that I know.
That's like the best place, you know. And so you track her down and you offer her that, and she agrees with a smile, and she says that she'll meet you there alone later on. And at the aforementioned time, she wearing more casual clothes, arms crossed, waiting for you. She you see her outside of the tavern. I thought I was going to have to send a search party if you didn't show up soon. By the way, you're not late at all. You're
No,
there like at the
I'm
exactly aforementioned time.
Just like you to be early for everything.
Is it not an accessory's duty to be early to everything? And she smirks. Let's get ourselves a table. And she opens the door and she speaks to the tavern wench who, goodness, this tavern has been bustling, and she's running around all over the place, and she gets you guys a table before too long, and the two of you guys sit. And she leans back and I won't lie, Renzu, I was not expecting you to extend such an offer.
Thought we could catch up.
I'm sure. Well, let's cut the pleasantries. What do you want?
How did you and the others get out?
How do you think? A mutual friend. That Mamba you left behind. It was very kind of you, by the way. Just abandoning him there. I would have gotten him out, but he didn't want to come. Said he couldn't. Not exactly sure what that's all about, but it's not really my business. He's a sweetheart, really. Handsome. He's the one who helped you escape too, wasn't he?
No.
Oh, that's actually surprising. He seemed rather concerned about you. You see, we didn't hear much. But we heard enough. And that was enough for me to want to get out of there.
it was up to me, I wouldn't have left him there. But I didn't really have a choice.
That's a new one. I didn't think you knew how to think about anybody other than yourself, Rinzu. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. He was fine the last time I went, or the last time I was there. And of course, he seemed rather concerned with your well-being, in his own kind of demure, quiet way. That was part of the deal.
What
He
deal?
helped me get out and make sure that you're not dead in a ditch somewhere. I'm not surprised that you aren't if Master Westland is here.
I made it
After-
fine a year before.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I suppose I'm just surprised after what happened.
Which thing is she referring to?
Most likely, the first incident. Which she probably shouldn't know about.
What are you talking about?
Don't play coy. Westland gets dropped into a coma for months. The same day that you disappear. The same day that he comes back. You tried to kill him, didn't you? Does he even remember? Does he even know?
I didn't try to kill him.
Yes, but it sure made it a convenient time for you to try and escape, didn't it? A poor accessory. One that would nearly kill you. Just for their freedom. She says freedom with quotation marks. But what do I know? And the waitress comes along and she orders.
Just going to also order just because the waitress is there and just like that whole like smile and stuff. Wait for her to leave.
Mhm.
If you were in the same situation, you probably would have done the same thing too.
Who's to say?
You weren't there. You don't know what happened.
No, I don't. I could ask you to enlighten me, but I'm sure that you wouldn't tell me. And if you did tell me, it would be a story skewed in your favor. That's typically how you operate, after all. But again, that's neither here nor there. After all, everything seems to be working out fine now. Master Westland is safe and sound, recovered from that injury of his. I can only assume there was an injury. After all, he did jump from Arcanon, didn't he? That's insanity, but I suppose that kind of boldness is not something that we should be surprised for coming from him. And she leans back, kind of puts a finger on her on her lower jaw, just kind of thinking, looking at you.
So why did you actually come here?
What's it to you? Since when have you cared about anything that I do?
Could say the same for you.
Is that what you think? Well, that explains a lot. I already told you why I came here. To honor my part of a bargain. To make sure that you were still alive. Plus, it was nice to see Master West. I don't know what I'm going to do next. Goddess, I've not put much thought towards it. Fighting for shifter rights? What does that even mean? But alas, here we are. And judging from Master Alexis's increasingly darkening mood over the past couple of months, I had a feeling that one of these groups would be more successful than the other. And if that house were to go up in flames, I didn't want to be there. So me and the twins decided to leave. We'll find work elsewhere. After all this blows over. If there's any place for us. But for the time being, it seems like a safer idea to stay here. There's a war going on after all. Though I'm sure you noticed.
Of course I did.
Is that a sufficient enough explanation for why I'm here for you, or should I start coming up with other things? Maybe I could tell you the real reason I'm here, because I wanted to steal Westland back from you. I wanted to ruin your life. Take all of your newfound fame and glory. Rob you of all of your friends. You're not that important, Rinzu. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm here because it'll let me be alive. And it'll get me away from that witch. You know the one.
What's she done?
I don't know. But I don't like the smell of her. She smells like varnish and rotting flowers. That handsome mutual friend of ours seemed to agree. And here I am. But, Rinzu, I'm not here to try and ruin your life. So you don't need to look at me like I'm going to try and stab you in the back.
I never said anything like that.
You didn't need to. It's plain in the way that you talk. The way the way that you've held yourself. The questions you've asked me since we've even sat down here. I don't pretend to know what it means to be free, Renzu. But everyone's talking about freedom nowadays. Maybe you should remember that that's not just for you. And at that very moment, the waitress comes around with the food. The delicious, delicious, barely cooked steak being placed in front of her, and she says, "I do have to say, these small towns out here sure know how to make a meal." And she digs in.
Going to sigh from what Baratheon said and just What was the last thing that you said? Because
I said, that basically that freedom is for that this quote unquote freedom for Tagwa and Lagus isn't just for you. Especially in regards to the fact that you were like, what are you doing here?
I know that it wasn't that's not just for me. That's why I've been doing what I've been doing.
And she says nothing else as she kind of ravenously devours the steak before her. And she leans back, satisfied after.
The reason why I asked you is I wanted to know if
Absolutely
Alexa sent
not.
you or you actually escaped.
I suppose I should be. I don't know whether to be insulted or honored. Then you think my loyalty is so strong that I would do his bidding here. And rat both you and Westland out. Honestly, it's a genius idea. I almost wish that he did send. That would have been a much better story. He sends me here under the guise of being an escaped slave. Gather intel. Get close to you. Bury all of our hatchets. Just in time to stab you and Westland in the back. But you're forgetting how paranoid Alexis is. You don't really think that he would trust a Laguz to do something so sensitive. Especially when they could just leave. Unfortunately, our tale's not that interesting. I wouldn't. By the way, his paranoia would have been right. I wouldn't do that. I hope you realize that. You do realize that, yes.
That's why I ask. Like you said yourself, it is a war. And one can't be too cautious.
She kind of sinks into her seat a bit. I suppose so, Rinzu. I suppose so.
Hey, I'm glad that you and the twins made it out all right, though. I've been worried about everybody in that house since I left.
You have a funny way of showing it, but thank you. And for what it's worth, I wasn't lying when I said that it's good to see you unharmed.
And there's something that we can agree on. Neither of us like that witch.
She raises her glass. Then a toast to perhaps the only thing that we may ever agree on. Well, one of two things. There's a twinkle in her eye.
What's the other thing?
Don't think too hard on it, dear Rinzu. And she clinks her glass together with you.
Totally going to be thinking on this and just like, what? Like, I think she's obviously making that like face of like, what?
And she revels in that face, absolutely, as she drains the rest of her liquor. And I imagine the rest of the conversation is pretty mundane in comparison. And
Right.
unless there's anything else that you needed to ask her, she after dinner is complete, she actually pays for it.
What the fuck? No.
You're the big hero here, Rinzu. I should be the one treating you.
Why do you keep calling me that?
That's what everyone else is calling you, isn't it? Isn't that what you want? And she absolutely pays for the meal, and leaves a small tip. This was fun, Rinzu. Truly. I'm sure I'll see you around.
I'm sure I will.
Try not to sound like you're dreading the experience too much now. And she smiles and she with a smirk she departs.
I feel like she would have actually like figured out what that second thing was, and it's just like, no.
And yeah, she leaves.
She needs to back off, man.
Oh my god.
Oh please. She lost that war a while ago. And yeah. So you run into her every here and there as you around and such. Some of the others, some of the other friends and such that you've made, actually, they ask you how the two of you know each other. According to Barathia, through them, she's told them that the two of you are great friends who go way back. And many of them had asked her if the two of you wanted to do a collaborative dance, and she said that you wouldn't want to do that.
That's a lie. No.
And according to like he said, she said, they said that Barathia says that she's not nearly skilled enough to share a stage with Renzu.
Oh my god. No, we're fucking doing this.
Maybe eventually,
No, I'm going to
but not yet.
going to get her to do this.
With little old me.
Oh my god.
And she's
Been
just
telling
gonna
me before.
torture you a little bit.
I just imagine like at night, just the whole like playback of like the he said she said thing to like Wes. Like, I can't believe she's doing this.
Westland is actually having trouble following up on it because he doesn't necessarily understand the animosity between the two of you, and he's kind of oblivious to the whole thing. And so he's a little bit like, why don't the two of you just share a dance together? It's actually kind of comical. But yeah, that goes on over the course of that week. So enjoy looking forward to that. I was waiting for a good moment to drop her in on all of this, even just as like as a tertiary thing.
I was wondering when she was actually going to show up because she hadn't shown up at the house.
But that leads us to also Connor. Was there anything that you were taking care of when you came back that you needed to address specifically?
I mean, I guess we could address Julius and what we're doing with him and what he's doing here.
Oh, Julius actually also, I actually decided he's going to be staying back at Brimrad and is going to be helping to coordinate efforts with you guys there. And has already started sending and receiving messages and such back and forth. And probably by the fourth day, you guys actually received a sizable shipment of supplies that he purchased for the Blood of Legala.
And I could also probably go back and forth if.
Oh yeah, that's true. You can,
Yeah.
You could help facilitate that.
Yeah.
He definitely would take notice about your expertise in teleportation, but wouldn't say anything about it.
It's fine.
Mostly because, he's still internally
Grieving?
screaming. He's still internally screaming like a lot.
Like, that's fair.
He seems to be distracted at times in the times that you deal with him. But he seems to be genuine in his support and assistance to you guys. And has already wrote, and over the course of this week, every single major leader that is in Dalhurst has received a missive from him personally, apologizing for his grievous missteps and pledging his support of the Blood of Legala in a personalized letter to each and every one of the leaders. And that would probably include all of you guys.
That's a little. But
God!
okay, I can deliver those.
Yeah, I don't think you. Yeah, probably actually having you deliver each and every one of those to everyone, and getting a list from you of all of the leadership and anybody who has any sort of role of importance.
He has an interesting way of grieving.
He also would have probably asked you anybody who is in any way, shape, or form involved or knew Amara, and would have written a personal letter to them. So every single member of the Mercer Brigade also has a letter for them.
Oh God, Marilyn.
I mean, I like.
Wow!
So.
That's
That's
like
a lot
way more extra than I have ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to talk about it?
I mean,
No, not even a little bit.
Okay.
And in fact,
jeez.
when he gave you those letters, he did so in a very businesslike manner. Like, that this was his duty, responsibility, and such, as much as anything else that anybody else would be doing as part of this war effort.
Wow.
I don't know him well enough to like be like.
You
wanna
okay,
talk?"
man?
Like,
Yeah?
I know you're not, but like, look, as the Blood of Legala's resident asshole, I would like to, like, you know.
Oh boy.
But yeah, a large amount of funds have also been transferred here, and promissory notes and all sorts of things. He's going all out.
I see that.
To the point where you don't know exactly how much money he had, but there's a good chance, and I think Westland probably would have noted this, that the amount of support that he's actually giving is probably to a degree that it will actually be somewhat hard for the house funds to recover immediately.
He's just going on a spending spree.
Yeah.
I guess, like,
Doing
you
some
know,
retail therapy.
retail therapy. I killed my daughter. Here, have all of my money.
So that's kind of what's happening right now with as far as Julius is concerned. Were there did you hear about the about what some of the other people were doing, Connor?
Maybe I don't know. You should remind me.
Delia and the priestess that was a part of the rabble have been working together in the infirmary and helping to heal the sick and wounded. And judging from the way that, especially the way that Delia carries herself, people have learned that people have been going to the two of them for a lot of spiritual advice as well, as unfortunately the side effect of Alstro's Martin Luther arrangement has kind of shaken a lot of people's faith, and a lot of people don't know exactly what to expect, especially since they're turning against the church. And so the two of them have also, like, between them and the gatekeeper of Dristan, they've kind of had to be spiritual leaders as well, and have had to do a lot of things. Tristan has been working closely with the two of them, and also in coordinating the local defense into a police force to make sure that individuals that would be using this opportunity to break the law and, like, steal and other various crimes won't be able to get away with it in this wartime. And so he's actually kind of turned more towards security in a personal manner in Dalhurst and the area surrounding. So Piper's been smithing up a storm, and probably the first time that she's had a major break in all of that was with Davian.
Wink.
If you know what I mean. And yeah, so is there anything else anybody wants to do before Group 1 returns?
Yeah. I would like
Before-
to speak director.
And yeah, you'd be able to. So probably like shortly after he comes back, you go back to the place that your parents are staying, and
Hey, Dad.
and it's probably both of them initially. She's probably like treating some of his injuries, and he's probably like, I'm fine. No, you're not. You know, like the typical thing that you've probably seen the two of them go through a while, like several times. This is
Always.
not new.
Do you mind if I speak to you both in private? He says, scratching the back of his head.
And they share a look, and they look back to you. Certainly. What is it, Davian?
So, remember back then when I was getting older and becoming of that age that if I found someone special, you would have something for me.
And they Delia Richter gets like a proud smile on her face. Delia's face, on the other hand, kind of brightens a lot.
I am
And there's a bit of a
blushing.
twinkle in her eye.
A lot of blushing, yeah.
Well, I'd say that was rather fast, but I suppose I'm not one to talk, yes?
Well, war tends to rush things. And you learn a lot in these kinds of situations. Besides, I'd rather ask her when I have a chance instead of, a lot can happen.
Well said, David. And
So-
and he nods and says, I do though. You're right. And he reaches down to his own hand, actually. The one that's injured, and he slides the ring off. One of his rings. And he hands it to you. This was passed down to me from my father, his father. And legend says it hails all the way back from when our family first kind of made its name.
Well,
It's an interesting ring. It has some enchantments on it. Conveniently, that enchantment seems to serve the purpose of mostly of allowing it to fit the hand of anyone who puts it on.
Huh.
And as you look at it, it's an old signet ring, with a very small ornate inlay of a golden scale, and a small flawless ruby and a sapphire in each of the scales cups. I'm sure she'll love it. And it goes without saying, Delia says, as she like places a hand on your shoulder, that the two of us, of course, give you our blessing. Piper's a sweetheart.
that she is.
And it was truly providence that the two of you found each other after so long. I won't lie and say that I'm not a little bit pleased myself that she was the one that you ended up choosing.
Huh. I see.
She is proud. She's very proud. She's beaming. And
Well,
she gives you a hug.
I'm gonna hug them both.
When all this is over, I think the two of you will be able to build a happiness that the two of you deserve.
Well, I would hope so, considering, well, Connor asked me to help remake the Paladins.
Excuse me?
Ah,
Richter says.
well, I decided I didn't want to be a mercenary anymore, and what's the good of all this fighting if we can't make it stick? So I'm going to be a paladin after all of this. Or in
He's-
charge.
He smiles. That will be the first time that the brigade is not led by a mercer in its history. I suppose times are changing there.
And with the Legala we intend to build, there won't be need of mercenaries.
And he smiles and says, "We'll see about that, Davian. There's always a use for mercenaries."
Fair enough, but I do intend to keep the name or the title. It's just a different profession.
And he nods and and the two of them will give you a hug. We're glad that you're back safe, Davian.
What was that?
We're glad that you're back safe, Davian.
Just glad I get to see you guys again.
Well, it'll be the first of many after this is all done.
Of course. Well, I'll let you know when I ask.
You better, she says.
Right. Puts it in his pouch and then puts it in his pocket and walks off, very cheerful.
And yeah. All right. And so the week passes. And finally, your scouts report that the unit returning from Emnet is almost home.
Yay!
Well, we better beat them at the front.
Yep.
And so, Misty, as you are the sole living representative of your mission currently on, you guys made the trek. It was quiet and not a lot of talking, as it turns out, which I suppose, given the circumstance, makes a good deal of sense. And finally, you see the town of Emnet, or the city of Emnet, rather, and the headquarters of the Blood of Legala. And as you guys ride closer, or fly in your case, there's probably a bit of a pit in your stomach. And as you guys enter in the city limits and pass through the barricades, the tents, the fortifications, guards hail you and greet you, soldiers, scouts, but they very quickly sense that something is amiss. And once you reach into the city proper, anyone who anyone from group 2 that wishes to be present obviously is. Several of the members of the rabble leaders from the Sons and Daughters are here as well. Those who are present. Catherine Faithsworn. Jack, and probably just those two at the moment. The others are probably out scouting, as it is their job. And of course, Etney herself. And General Shieldheart is present, though he's lingering back a bit. And as they approach in the distance, you guys see those who are back in Emnet and watching. You guys see as the team approaches, and Etney has a smile on her face as she sees the familiar horses and those coming in as she sees both Tempest and Flint's crotchety old mount. And as they come in, she sees Vic on Tempest with Jacob's hat. And her smile falters a bit and her eyes narrow, or her brow knits. And as soon as Jack sees it, he closes his eyes and he turns away and shakes his head. And as you guys ride up, heads down, Flint dismounts. He flicks the remnants of his of the cigarette he was smoking into the dirt and crushes it. He strokes his horse once, twice. And he wordlessly hands the reins off to one of the soldiers, and he walks past. And Alstro, he looks up to you, and his eyes kind of tell it all.
What happened?
He just shakes his head. A lot of good, little miss. A lot of good. A lot of bad. And as Donna looks around and she kind of sees what's happening, her hand goes up to her mouth and covers it. And Vic dismounts from Tempest. And she walks straight through all of you guys. She doesn't look up, her hat's still tilted down. She walks right past Etna, who just stares at Tempest. At her daughter as she walks by. Vic passes and keeps moving. She's shaking.
Can we tell where she's going?
Away, just into the city. Victoria, Etne says. And she stops. Don't call me that, she says. What? Where's Jacob? You know damn well where he is, Ma. Don't you go asking me like that, like you don't know. You know exactly where he'd be if he were here. He'd have been the first damn person. He would have been the first damn person through that barricade. She... He'd have stormed his way up here and he would have walked his way right up to you and he would have cracked that smile and his eyes would crinkle like they always did. But that ain't gonna happen. And you damn well know why not. So don't you stand here and ask me like you don't know what happened. And Etne's eyes kind of widen and go out of focus for a bit. No. It can't be. Well, it damn is! Uncle Jake is gone. He's gone and there ain't nothing I can do about it. And at that, Captain Fatesworn closes her eyes and begins to sob. Tristan actually steps forward and she turns and buries her head into his chest. And Annie just shakes her head. That can't be the case. Are you certain he wasn't? Are you absolutely? And Vic snaps back and you really think I'd be telling you that if I weren't certain? You don't think I'd be out there right now if there was even a sliver of chance I could get him back? And Vic turns back and she actually she storms back towards Etne. Only a few paces between them as she goes, "You don't think I'd be out there I would have been out there as soon as I could trying to find him. I rode every damn horse in the Gala until they couldn't run no more. He's dead, Ma. He's gone. He's gone. And tears start to stream down her face, and Etney reaches out to to Vic, and Vic slaps her hand away. Don't you touch me. Not right now. This is all your fault. You sent him off on all these missions. You should have known it was dangerous. Why'd you send him after us? Why'd you have to send him to die, Ma? Why'd you have to send him to die? And she moves to her mother, and she railing on her chest impotently with the balls of her fist. Why'd you have to send him to die? He would have done anything for you, Ma. He would have done anything you asked. So you sent him off to die. He loved you, Ma, and that's how you repaid him. He loved you. And she collapses into Edney's chest and just begins to bawl. What? And she just collapses into Etney, just repeating, he loved you and now he's gone. Before sobs just start to consume any words that she says. And Etney wraps her arms around her daughter, her eyes wide and almost in disbelief. And as Vic surrenders to sobs, Etney closes her eyes and just embraces her daughter and plants her chin on top of her head. The silent tears starting to run down her cheek. Richter, Delia, John all watch, their faces solemn, and Delia mutters a silent prayer. And Flint looks up to Flint looks up at Alstro, standing, lights another cigarette. His eyes just drained emotionally. Weren't supposed to be like this, little miss.
It wasn't.
That damn fool. Threw his life away. For an old bat like me. He shakes his head. Magister Darlton and his men, they came up on us out of nowhere. Tried to make a break for it. We weren't fast enough. Not all of us. They grabbed Morrow, took him back to their facility. Impressed him, we'll try to get what they could. That old bastard Jared risked his life to try and save him, but it weren't enough. Stress from the torture was too much. Didn't have enough to defend himself. Poor Vic ain't even got to see him. Not a poor. Well, it weren't supposed to be like this, little miss. I'm mighty sorry. He just shakes his head. Damn fool.
Elstro just kind of just holds on to herself. Visibly shaking and starting to tear up. Ultimately, this is war.
Yeah, but that don't make it any easier. Sure as hell don't make it any easier. And he puts a hand on your shoulder. Gives it a gentle, sad squeeze. It's good to see you, Alstro,
It's good to see you too.
despite everything.
And she hugs him.
He bristles for a moment, but he'll return the hug. And you smell the old smell of dust and cigarettes and alcohol that you became used to.
I'm sorry, Flint.
I reckon we all are a little sorry right now. I only hope. I only hope Mal was there to show him the ropes. He says, his voice cracking.
She's gonna hug him a bit tighter. I know you did everything you could.
I can't, I did. Always could have done something better. But it's too late for that now.
Well, then we just have to win this war for him, don't we?
No. He ain't never forgive us if we do that. We gotta win the war for them. He says, nodding his head over to Edney and Vic.
We can win the war for all of them, you know, she says, kind of wiping away a tear.
I reckon you're right. I reckon you're right. And Reno actually quietly steps closer, and I don't have any intention of interrupting, says, but he extracts silently a small envelope from his pocket, from his jacket. Jacob had this prepared in case something would happen. When everyone's ready, we can gather everyone that he would want to be. Well, take your time. And he steps back, giving space. His face solemn, but still not really giving much. And eventually, as Vic sobs slow, she just repeats, "I'm sorry," to Edney, clinging to her cloak and her armor. I'm sorry. And muffled in her mother, she just apologizes. I never should have said anything like that. I never should have hurt you. I never should have blamed you. I'm so sorry. And just repeats that and similar things over and over again. And Shieldheart steps forward and a sad look on his face. He takes charge of getting everybody else that needs to rest, kind of getting them and taking their horses and such, making sure that water and food and provisions are brought for those who need it. And at one point, his gaze meets Etney's, And he just gives her a solemn nod. And she buries her face into Vic's hair. Sometime later, after the others of import, the other captains have been are recalled and arrive. Reno gathers the scout captains, Vic, Etney, Alstro, Davian, and honestly anybody else who would want who would want to be there to hear Jacob's last will effectively, and who would have the right to do so, gather in a small building. And the night is a little bit colder than your typical evening, and so the hearth was actually lit. John took care of that for them. And as everyone settles in, Reno stands up and clears his throat. I suppose there's little to do, but read what we have. And he silently and carefully opens the letter and withdraws the parchment. And as he begins to read, it's not hard to imagine Jacob's voice reading the same letter.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Can I be heard? All right. Should I go ahead?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Vic, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I won't waste your time with too much. Just a quick few things. Just a few favors. If he's still kicking, tell that old bastard Flint that now the malknown me could have done better for father. Tell him to look after himself. Give me a reprieve from his shit for a while before he comes to join. Tell Loxley I'm proud of her. I'm sorry I'm not going to be there to see the end of this. Take a deep breath. Find something to laugh about instead of doing whatever crazy damn thing she's thinking about doing. And tell her thank you from me for letting me in. And for your ma, give her a hug from me. And tell her to think of me whenever she sits on something sharp. That'll make her smile, and your ma's got a smile about as bright as yours. I think it'll help you both. And for you, Bandit, all I got is yours. That's always been true. I know you'll take care of Tempest for me, so all I can say is thank you. Raising you and seeing you become the person you are, it's been the absolute best thing. Every day, you give me another reason to be proud, and me being dead doesn't change that. I look forward to telling your daddy all about you. I love you, Vic. Be happy. Uncle Jake.
And as Reno finishes up and folds the letter, even his lip quivers as he takes a deep breath. And there you have it. And he tosses the letter onto the table. And with that, we'll go ahead and take a quick break. Alstro, you have a thing that you wanna do, right?
Yep. I'm gonna go find Mistral.
Oh, hi, Elstro.
Cat, you know why.
I know exactly why, because you're one of the people I told.
I mean, if you didn't, she was gonna know anyways.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I told her.
And I need some way to distract myself, and so I do so by going headfirst into work.
Huh. I don't know any other people in your family who do that.
All of them.
My God.
Even Delphine with cooking.
Wait, what's happening?
Haven trees and as a whole just go into work mode when we're grieving. Anyway, Mistral.
Elstro,
Might I have a word with you alone, please?
what's love?
Just kind of gesture to probably somewhere quiet.
Which Misty would follow.
Yeah, which you'd be able to find somewhere quiet in the dark night.
There's been a change in you.
I figured out of anyone, you'd be one of the first to pick up on that. And I imagine this probably isn't a lecture.
She shakes her head. It's not my place to tell you that. But frankly, I don't think you're human anymore. Well, you're certainly not human anymore. And if you didn't know that already, you had a right to know that.
No, I gathered that with a couple of the changes that happened. The ears were a dead giveaway, love.
And it's harder for you to hide them, given
Yes, for the time being, however, my hair grows like it's a lawn.
her eyes kind of widen a bit, like, suppose that's not something I would have noticed. How is
Ultimately,
your magic been?
not much of a difference other than it comes a bit easier. It happened after the fact. It wasn't really under much duress in the process.
Elstro just kind of pauses for a second. So what did you do?
Got information we needed.
Elstro! Well, that's not something that I can entirely fault you for.
They were already dead, if it's any consolation.
No, as in I did a similar thing.
So we were both busy.
Indeed. Who, if I might ask? Though, I suppose you're going to report that back.
During the meeting, however, in specific, it was Nathaniel Kane. And a dark flyer.
I suppose you know her name.
Fuck. I don't know what I gave her. I named her. I just don't remember what it was. Shit.
Pick a new name. I was gonna remember.
Hang on.
I specifically was avoiding asking you her name, so you'd have to come up with one.
Too bad.
Hang on. Give me 2 shakes. Her name was Allison Harper. Harper, like P-E.
Her name was Alison Harper.
Well, on our end, it was actually Connor that advised me to just. I assume by this point, Mistral knows that Amara has passed.
Yes, I imagine.
I imagine that probably got spread around pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were actually able to avoid a bit of a misinterpretation of the situation when I consumed Amara's lore. So,
Ultimately, at this point, it might be better to end the war as quickly as possible.
yes, I'm of the same mind.
And
Then,
the fewer advantages they can have, the better.
though I suppose I find myself asking, if you consume Kane's lore, that means that you saw what happened to...
I did. And I think something he would want you to know is he didn't break love. Not once.
I didn't expect him to.
Nathaniel Kane was a grieving man. A perfect example of how bad things can get.
It'll only get worse as the war rages on. So you're right. We should do what we can to end this war as quickly as we can. Thank you, Mistral. But there are some things that you should know about what you are now.
I imagine you have a bit more specifics than the guesswork.
Avalon itself did provide some insights. If that was a joke, it went straight over Alstra's head.
I mean,
First of all, the more you cast magic, the more you push yourself. Something in you changes and you need to devour more. The more that you press yourself, the more that you go without eating, the closer you are to death. It's my understanding from my own experiences that it's something linked to your own personal strength. So I feel that you are in a bit better position than I am currently. That's something I'm trying to rectify. Then something else, additionally, though. I don't know. I won't pry into your personal life or what you intend to do, but it's my understanding from what I saw of the goddesses that to have children is incredibly dangerous. And from what I understood of Saya, it's normal for, even more so than humans, for mothers to pass.
I'll take note of that, love. However, considering the circumstances, not something that really passed my mind.
It's still something important to know. Might as well mention it up front as opposed to forgetting to mention it in the future.
Yes, that would be a bit of an unfortunate surprise.
She nods. Yes, and I'm sure you're... I'm sure the people that care about you wouldn't want anything to happen to you. So it's important to know all the risks up front before moving forward. As I discover things, I'll let you know too.
And myself in turn, though I imagine you're a bit more ahead of me than... Well, for the time being anyway. I'm not really intending on experimenting all that much.
Will you intend to gather more information, as it were, in the future?
Ideally, there's not going to be much of a chance to do that, and we'll end it quickly. I'm not hunting particularly Astro.
And I'll hope you'll never will have to. She says matter-of-factly.
Well, I appreciate the warning. I'll take it to heart.
Thank you. Thank you for looking after them, Mistral.
Of course, and I'm sorry about Jacob, love.
This is war. Thank you for your condolences, though.
And she would just nod.
I'll be interested to hear the information that you've learned at the meeting.
And information if it is.
I'll let you be. I'm sure you want to spend time with your family.
Until they both go to sleep, and then I'll be trying to find something to do.
Well, I'm here to talk if you need me. It seems that you and I now suffer from the same affliction, as far as that is concerned.
Or I'll just start sleeping for fun.
Never considered that.
Yeah, you can actually still sleep. It just, you don't really need to. It doesn't really functionally do much. But you can do it. But why though?
I
Yeah.
know. There's stuff to do. There's always stuff to do.
Because sleeping is nice.
Yeah, it's fast forward.
Anyway. She leaves Mistral B. Come find me if you have trouble. Or if you want to sleep, I don't know, like a plebe.
Hang on. I need to see if when because obviously after all of this, I imagine Cygnus and Ven were there, but given the mood of the meeting, probably just kept you kept it pretty tame as far as like welcomes. Like they definitely kept it kind of low key, but they will likely be
Man,
more overtly happy to see you later. That
Ben
was
saw
a
that whole
very
thing play out then.
yeah. He would have been there, especially when if he knew that his mom was coming back.
Which probably as soon as that started happening, Misty just made her way over and just wrapped an arm around her son. It's just like, this is what I'm doing right now. Oh, I got a new species special ability. Neat.
Yeah, he did. And on that note, what are you going to see them after that conversation? I'm guessing.
Yeah, because like I don't know when that particularly happened, but Misty probably went and put stapled some four
Yeah.
away and like took care of that.
And so after all of that, Cygnus is actually probably at the stables, knowing that, assuming you were going there afterwards, probably would have, unless you were, assuming that you were on your way to the stables when Alstro caught you.
Okay, that makes sense.
Cygnus was probably there because where are you going to find Misty if you don't know where Misty is? Just hang out with Symphora and she'll show up.
Yeah, that's pretty safe.
And so as you get there, he's there. And he's just waiting, not really hiding or anything. And he smiles with but there's a hint of concern.
And I'm
Are
getting
you-
all too familiar with that look already.
He kind of laughs quietly and he'll close the gap and he'll wrap his arms around you and give you a kiss. I'm glad to see that you're safe. And I'm sorry for what happened. It seemed to be a terrible tragedy.
An unfortunate one, to be sure.
Quite. Mistral. Pardon my direct. But I would not have actually noticed initially had Ven not told me what he had seen, what he had noticed, and something's changed. Are you all right?
Quite fun. Started a new facial treatment, gotten rid of all the wrinkles.
He raises an eyebrow.
Clearly the fact I'm joking indicates that, right?
I presume you're not in danger. Elsewise, you would not be joking.
As far as I can tell.
What happened?
What are you referring to exactly?
He actually gets a pretty serious face. Now is not the time to be coy, Misty. Please.
Do you remember the circumstance with Samvora?
He nods.
That happened. With not wyverns.
With not wyvern.
Specifically with Nathaniel Kane and Alison Harper.
Ah. He kind of processes that for a moment. A second. And perhaps some elaboration may be beneficial.
Without going into a lot of detail, because I don't rightly know it myself. Effectively, I gained their memories in a matter of speaking, after they were dead. With it became several things that they happened to know that we could use, and is advantageous for us to know.
And to do so, you
Absorb the lore.
I see.
Which is where this came from. She gestures up at her ears.
There's a flicker of wariness across his expression. Almost a little bit of like a hint of fear.
I've only changed physically, love.
While that is true, he